Every January 26th, India puts on one of the most spectacular displays of national pride on Earth, the Republic Day Parade. But amidst the marching bands and military hardware, there is a quieter, deeply emotional tradition. The Prime Minister steps forward to honor the nation's bravest children with the National Bravery Awards. Among these, the highest honors a child receives are the Geeta and Sanjay Chopra Awards. Yet the origin of these specific awards is rooted in a nightmare. They carry the names of two siblings who were the victims of an abduction in 1978 that deeply traumatized Indian parents. These medals stand as the direct legacy of that encounter. They are a physical response to a horrific crime, one that led the government to establish a new national standard for recognizing the actions of children under pressure. On the evening of August 26, 1978, 16-year-old Geeta and 14-year-old Sanjay Chopra were headed to this building, Broadcasting House, to participate in a youth radio program. Caught in a heavy downpour, the teenagers decided to hitch a ride from a passing car. They had no idea the vehicle was stolen, or that the men offering them shelter were Geeta Singh and Jasbir Singh, career criminals better known as Ranga and Billa. The men initially planned to hold the children for ransom, but once they learned the siblings' father was a naval officer and not a wealthy industrialist, the calculation shifted. Realizing there would be no massive payout, Ranga and Billa decided to execute their captives. What happened next was a desperate fight for survival. The siblings refused to surrender quietly. 14-year-old Sanjay, fighting grown, armed men, sustained 25 stab wounds to his arms as he fiercely tried to defend his sister and himself. That violent resistance proved to be critical. The children lost their lives, but the injuries they inflicted on their attackers created the very evidence that would eventually trap Ranga and Billa. Because of the fight the children put up, Ranga and Billa sustained injuries requiring medical attention. This mistake left a literal blood trail, giving police investigators a crucial starting point to track them down. When the bodies of Geeta and Sanjay were discovered days later, grief turned into explosive anger. Students and parents flooded the streets of New Delhi, organizing massive protests to demand immediate justice for the murdered siblings. The nationwide manhunt ended abruptly about 2 weeks later. Attempting to flee the capital, Ranga and Billa accidentally boarded a military train compartment. Personnel on board recognized their faces from the intense media coverage and immediately detained them. The sheer volume of public outrage transformed a local double homicide into a national mandate. The pressure from citizens and politicians alike forced the usually sluggish justice system to move with remarkable speed. Following a highly publicized trial, both men were convicted and sentenced to death. For the public, this was the exact outcome they had marched for, but the legal process was just beginning. As the defense filed appeals, the case landed here, at the Supreme Court of India. The trial sparked a fierce debate over the ethics of the death penalty, weighing the human rights of the accused against the safety of society. After the courts upheld the sentence, the convicts sought their final legal lifeline. This text outlines Article 72, detailing the president's exclusive power to pardon or commute a death sentence. Ultimately, the president rejected the mercy petition. The Supreme Court formalized the decision, defining the killers as a severe menace whose survival threatened public order. This extensive legal journey established the Ranga Billa case as a core reference point in Indian law. It helped define the specific parameters for the rarest of rare crimes that warrant capital punishment. On November 7, 1981, the Supreme Court made a highly unusual ruling. They granted a select group of journalists permission to enter Tihar Central Jail and interview the condemned men hours before their execution. That encounter took place on January 30, 1982. Reporters described a trembling Billa standing behind the iron grill, loudly proclaiming his innocence to anyone who would listen. Ranga, reportedly withdrawn and turned to religion, refused to leave his cell or speak to the press. The next morning, both men were hanged. Their bodies went unclaimed by relatives, bringing the criminal saga to a definitive close. The executions satisfied the mandates of the law, but a hanging alone doesn't heal a community. To find actual closure, society needed to build something enduring out of the profound loss. Even before the trials concluded, the Indian Council for Child Welfare had taken action. In 1978, they instituted the Geeta and Sanjay Chopra Awards to ensure the siblings were remembered for how they fought rather than how they died. These specific awards have strict criteria. They are granted exclusively to children who exhibit exceptional, selfless physical bravery when facing overwhelming odds. Today, the names of the attackers are largely confined to legal textbooks and archival newsreels. Meanwhile, Geeta and Sanjay's legacy is renewed every single year by a new generation of young heroes who step forward to wear their names. By naming these awards after the Chopra siblings, the state ensures that their actions, not their killers, define the history of the case. They have become a permanent national standard for courage, proving that the memory of their resistance outlasts the tragedy of the crime.